Hello everybody! Today we're going to be talking about the lovely units and projects we get to do throughout the year in 7th grade social studies with Mr. Firstel. Best class ever! So the first unit we did, it was Explorers, and we basically just learned on how all the explorers from over in Europe and how they came to the new land, which we call America now. No, Columbus did not discover America. The European explorers helped shape America because without them going to the New World, as they called it, they would have never come back with the knowledge that there was land over there. That means that Britain would have not known that there was land over there that early, which means they couldn't have placed the 13 colonies there, at least then. I would say that the biggest project in this unit would be the walk-around gallery. So we basically all made slide presentations on each of the different explorers, and we walked around, learned about them, and filled out a little chart on them, which would then help us with our study guide. Now it's time for me to give you one of the many tips and strategies for success in this class. One of them is, do not use Google, because 1, it's unreliable, 2, it lies sometimes, and 3, you can find way better stuff online than just using Google if you look. The second unit we learned about was the 13 colonies. This is a pretty fun unit, but to be honest, what unit in social studies isn't fun? This basically explained how the British got from Britain to now what we call America. The 13 colonies shaped America because without the 13 colonies, we probably wouldn't be here. It was originally Britain who made the 13 colonies, but what if they didn't? We probably wouldn't be here. The biggest project in the colonies unit, or I should say the only project, was the colonies brochure. This is where you would get assigned to one part of the colonies, which is either the New England colonies, the Middle colonies, or the Southern colonies. And you basically just research them, put them in a brochure on why you would live there. This could also help you with the study guide. Another tip or strategy to help you succeed in this class is actually read the articles that he gives you, because they're actually useful. You may think, oh, I just read this to do the questions, but no, read the whole thing, because then you'll probably do better on the quizzes and tests. Our third unit was the Revolutionary War. This was probably one of the most fun units because we got to learn about all the wars that helped shape America. It was just us fighting Britain for independence. A key point in this war was that there was a really good leader that helped us along the way. But first, let's talk about some characteristics of a leader. Some characteristics a leader needs is to be strong, confident, bold, responsible, and honest. You know that really good leader that I was talking about earlier? Yeah. His name was George Washington. He helped shape America because he was the leader of the army that led the rebellion against Britain. He was also very trustworthy and helped the men survive the winter at Valley Forge by being confident and encouraging the men. He also went on to become the first president of the United States of America. The next tip or strategy to help you succeed in this class that I have for you is every single article he gives you, I would recommend highlighting everything really important, because that will really help you with your homework. The next unit we learned about was the Constitution. This was the best unit ever because you spent the whole quarter on it. It was just explaining how right after the Revolutionary War, and how only the few select people that got to go to the Constitutional Convention that was held at Independence Hall, Philadelphia, made the Constitution and explained how it was going to work, and they wrote all 7 articles to it. Some of the key people who attended the Constitutional Convention were Benjamin Franklin, James Madison, George Washington, Alexander Hamilton, and John Adams. And in this unit, we also learned about the Illinois Constitution. And it was basically just explaining how our Constitution was made and the similarities and differences between the Illinois Constitution and the Federal Constitution. Next tip and or strategy I have for you is to make the note cards in the Constitution unit, make them very detailed. These will help you a lot when studying for the test. Some people may ask, however, rights changed over time. Well, this all started from the Revolutionary War, or before the Revolutionary War, when we really didn't have that many rights because there were a bunch of acts stopping us from doing stuff. Like the Quartering Act, we had to house soldiers in our house sometimes, and that was taking away from our rights, and today we don't have to unless it is a military emergency. Another question some people may ask are, what are the virtues cherished in our American culture? Well, some of the virtues may be freedom, independence, and suffrage. Freedom and independence, those are really valuable because we've fought a whole war for them. And suffrage because now everyone is equal and everyone can vote. Fifth unit we learned about was Washington's administration. When Washington became president, he had his administration in the cabinets. I would say that the two most important roles in that administration was Thomas Jefferson, his Secretary of State, and Alexander Hamilton, his Secretary of Treasury. I would say that the most fun thing that we did in this unit was the debate on who was better, the Democratic Republican Party with Thomas Jefferson or the Federalist Party with Alexander Hamilton. Learned about was the War of 1812. It was a war between the U.S., Britain, and a little bit of the Native Americans. This was a basically useless war because there was no real victor to it. I think that the most important thing that happened in this war was that we burned down Canada's capital, also known as Britain back then. So they came over and burned down our capital. The seventh unit we learned about was the Jacksonian era. In this unit, we learned about the nullification crisis, the spoils system, the Indian removal policy, and the national bank policy. I think that the most important thing out of the four things that I just listed was the Indian removal policy. I think this because it created the Trail of Tears, which is a really long journey for the Indians to move, and most of them died on the way. The last tip or strategy, well, this is actually a tip I have for you, is to actually do your homework, because if you do this, you get really good grades. Our eighth and last unit that we learned about was the westward expansion. This unit explained how we moved west and how we got the territories from Spain, Mexico, France, and Britain. A fun thing you got to do in this unit was that you got to play the Oregon Trail card game. This was the best thing we did ever. You'll have really fun when you get to play it too. I can promise you that. As a wrap up for this video, I have one last question, and that is, how has America's history affected the government we have today? Our history affected our government today because we didn't have rights back then, or as much, when we were still under control from Britain. So when we made our own government, we pulled some ideas from Britain's government, and we also gave ourselves the rights that we wanted. I hope you liked this short little video I made. Have fun in 7th grade social studies with Mr. Firstel. I wish you luck. Still the best class ever.